Welcome, my dear viewer, to Dr. Paul Kebicho YouTube channel. Today, I want us to discuss something that I have really been concerned about. And why am I speaking this? Why am I taking a bit of time to discuss this? It is because when people realized that there were goods and services that could be gotten across other continents of the world, that need propelled them to think outside the box, and they came up with what we call the aircrafts. So the purpose of the aircraft was actually to solve this issue of distance and time, and therefore today we enjoy the fruits of men and women who sat down and they clacked their grey matter to the point of coming up with that particular innovation that we talk about today, which is the aircraft. It's amazing, but some of us people take things for granted. Then the other issue I want us to discuss, or what has made me to come up with the idea that I'm just about to talk about, is this aspect of people realizing that they needed to carry what we call bulky goods. Bulky goods. Very, very heavy things. And that is why how they came up with what we call the issue of coming up with a ship. A big ship. Ships that carry very, very heavy goods. So we have ships that sail from across the entire globe. If you go to Mombasa, for instance, if you go to Kilindini Harbour, you'll see those ships there. So it is because people realized they needed to carry bulky things from one region to the other that they came up with what we call the ships. When people realized that eating raw meat was actually one of their undoing, somebody invented fire. When people realized that guys were dying of heart issues, the people who think seriously in life, they came up with men and women called cardiologists. So besides studying what we call the general medicine, we got men and women who narrowed down their thinking and their entire capacity to understanding how a heart operates and how it can be fixed just in case it defeated from its normal operations. When people realized that moving from one point to another sometimes may require what we call some simple motorable facilities, they came up with a motorcycle, for instance. Similarly, I have been able to look at a few things here in Kenya, and the one thing has been disturbing me. It's only that most of us people do not have those platforms. I have looked keenly. And the government of Kenya has spent colossal amounts of money in building infrastructure. The infrastructure has really gotten a chunk of our budget. But the big question is, we have put infrastructure in place, but unfortunately we have got what we call fadders who are wreaking havoc to our infrastructure. I have had the privilege of traveling to so many nations across the globe. I have been to the United States, more than 15 states. I have been to France, Paris. I have been to Brussels in Belgium. I have been to Vienna, Austria. I have been to Sydney in Australia. I have been to Netherlands. I have been to Doha, Qatar. I have been to Marrakesh in Morocco. I have been to Kigali, Rwanda. I have been to Addis in Ethiopia. I have been to Pretoria, Johannesburg, Cape Town, East London. I have been to Rustenburg, I have been to Mpumalanga, Limpopo, among other places. But what has really caught my attention is this aspect of our infrastructure being destroyed by men and women. And because it will become very hard for people to change the way they do their things. And because we have got some motivators that makes men and women think of how they can fertilize, I thought it wise to share some information. Maybe, who knows, one day it will reach the decision makers in the Republic of Kenya. And one of them is this. When you are putting signage, why should we continually use iron? And iron is one of the major point of attraction to fadders, those people who vandalize our signage. So why don't engineers, when our engineers have taken too long, our road engineers have taken too long to have come up with what we call change of doing things. The modus operandi has changed. So even before I go to the issue of actually coming up with what we call the plastic signages, I would also maybe call upon the government. We need to do what we call the CBA, the cost-benefit analysis. So must we continually license these men and women called scrap metal dealers? What is their benefit vis-a-vis the national good for this Republic of Kenya? I have no problem with them whatsoever, but we need, if they were to exist, we need what we call clear policies and regulations that will govern them. But unfortunately, as we speak right now, by virtue of our nation's status in terms of corruption, when you hear issues of KEMSA, SCADO, when you hear issue of the Chicken Gate, when you hear the issue of Kamarol and Alol Dam, when you hear issues of things like, talk about colossal amounts of money being lost in scams, that becomes the motivator to those people called the scrap dealers, maybe by also thinking on the same lines that they can equally embezzle the funds of the Republic of Kenya. So the question is, and I'm only a concerned citizen of the Republic of Kenya, why do we have these men and women being licensed by the government of the day when they have wreaked havoc to infrastructure? Our road signages have been vandalized. Go take a drive along Thika Road. Signages have been stolen. Take a drive towards the Eastern Bypass, Southern Bypass, the Outer Ring Road. So what can we do as a nation? I'm proposing as a scholar that the government must think now on how to tame this once and for all. We need to ask ourselves, how do you kill a market? You kill a market by making sure there is no demand. So if we can be able to do away with these scrap metal dealers once and for all, or if we put what we call enforceable rules and regulations that will be followed to the letter, then our road signage will remain intact for generations to come. I was in Britain the other day, and I found out some signages that were put there way back, many years ago. Many years ago. And they are still there. They are still intact. Why? Because the policies are working. Our guardrails have been stolen. We do not even have a policy that should I hit the guardrails, it is not the responsibility of the government to fix that particular. It should be my responsibility. Go to Rwanda, Kigali. Go to Kigali, Rwanda. What does the government do? If you hit a guardrail, it is your responsibility to fix it. And more so you get fined for that. Why can't we do the same here in Kenya? When shall Kenya grow? And then again, do we have what we call punitive measures to those offenders so that they can become a deterrent to those others who may think of actually destroying this particular infrastructure? The government is spending a lot of money. Our president is spending a lot of money. Just beautiful. The other day, I was driving towards Galleria Mall, and I'm telling you, I was so let me say, I felt so bad in my heart that the entire electric posts, they had been cut at the base, and all of them stolen. And nothing has happened so far. So why then wouldn't the same individual think of looking for another load to go and cause the same mayhem? So I think I call upon the government of the day to ensure that we have what we call, and again we have cameras. I wonder sometimes we have got those CCTV cameras, and the electric posts are being stolen, and the full gear of the same cameras. Are they serving the purpose for which they were commissioned to do? So we need to look at a few issues so that this government can grow, so that the Republic of Kenya can be beautiful, so that we can be at the same level with those other nations that are coming up. And that is my take. I look forward maybe to somebody hearing from those public offices and implementing that. God bless.